Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Through the Eyes of a Lion, a Slingshot Media production where we discuss all things life, community, relationships, and our love for the game. I'm joined today and always by my brother, my confidant, Jay Smith.
What's up, my man?
Coach Jay Smith, excuse me.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today, bro?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Definitely excited for the first episode. It's been in my mind like all week, so super excited.
Yeah. I think for me, as someone who hasn't really been involved in the basketball scene for too long, and we're really going to cover a broad range of topics on this show. It won't be particularly about any one thing, but just for some background, we've been on this journey together for almost a year now, working with young men and women in achieving their personal and athletic goals. But we felt a different calling beyond the court, I think, in the last year, just about reflecting on our lives and the communities that we're a part of, that we're building, and everything that surrounds the sport that brings so many people together. So, I've always loved the phrase that there's, the game on the scoreboard and there's the game of life.
Right.
And the second one is probably the most important.
For sure.
But I think athletes have a very unique perspective in that, there's so many emotions involved in sports, and then you just gotta go about your life, and
Right.
and you gotta sort of forget about the game, move on to the next one. So you're originally from Houston, right?
No, so actually, I was born in Chicago.
Okay.
Born on the south side of Chicago, and then my family moved to the Houston area when I turned about 12, 13. My grandfather, around that age, was starting to get a little bit older, not moving around as much, and my mom and dad wanted to be a little bit closer to him. So pretty much my dad got the inkling from God to move to Texas, and we made that move. But I mean, the only thing I miss about Chicago right now is my grandma and the food. Y'all can keep that cold for sure.
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, I the heat right now, I think I'd rather take the cold, but I don't know. I haven't lived up there in a long time.
I hate the cold, man.
So from Chicago, you grew up in Houston, though, right?
Yeah. Grew up in the Houston
area. And then you
area.
went to college and also the Midwest, Kansas City, right?
Yes, sir.
So I guess my first question for you is, being a hooper in all these places and just being, a man in all these places, what have you seen in the community in Austin and Central Texas that you've been, really drawn to stay, to grow, and, how has it influenced you as a coach and as a man?
Gotcha. So the thing that attracted me to Austin the most, we took a family vacation, and just how diverse it was. You can literally take a 30-minute drive and get whatever you want.
Yeah.
You want peace and quiet, 30-minute drive. You want a suburban area, 30-minute drive. If you want a whole bunch of ruckus and traffic and construction, that's a 30-minute drive. And then also you get to meet different types of people from all walks of life. It's not just, it's a big melting pot.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I appreciate. I mean, we say Houston, but I live in the Katy area. Right. And so that was a melting pot area as well.
Yeah.
So I just grew accustomed to hearing about different ideas, different perspectives, different families, how people were brought up. And I just love being surrounded by different things.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like just one thing at one time.
Yeah.
Kind of want to switch it up every now and then. So Austin was perfect. And then also the weather, it barely gets too cold. We had a couple ice storms, but it barely gets too cold. It gets hot, but not crazy hot for too long. Yeah. So Austin was the
I
perfect.
Disagree with that last part.
Austin was the perfect one for me, so it's all good.
Yeah, so we talked about it a little bit off the air, but I feel like you've had just a variety of mentors over the years. I can't really keep them straight. I feel like there's a lot of them, and you've been through Houston, probably through your college experience, and here in Austin. So I guess can you talk a little bit about how those mentors have influenced you? What in particular has really stuck with you, and how do you use it with the kids you're coaching these days?
Man, so it's I always try to put my life in sections, or kind of like a movie where you have different scenes. And so as I'm growing up, of course, in any kid, hopefully present, gratefully I had a father in my life, right?
Yeah.
So as being a young kid, my father was the first mentor that I had, right? Instilling principles and etc. But then as I got older, right, you still listen to your parents, but you're just it's like I hear you, but I'm not trying to hear you as much, right? So then the first mentor in my life, it would be Coach Stephon Leary, and he in Katy area kind of he honed in on just building the confidence in who I was as a person. I was a quiet kid. I like always intrusive of like my thought, like keeping things on the inside. I thought a lot, but I didn't really say much. And then he gave me the platform to just expand and be who I was. And he told me who I would be before I got there and really believed in me. So that was like more of like the growing up from like an adolescent to the teenage years. And then I would say the person that made the impact on me the most out of my childhood, his name is Kendrick Davis. Okay. That was my teenage. So after I got done being coached by Coach Leary and Coach Josh Patterson, Coach, I call him KD, came in. And when I say like immediate impact, like we vibed together, the conversations, the talks, Coach KD made like a on and off the court impact. Like I would be texting him during the school day, like, yo, what's going on? It's like I was like, any knowledge that I can get from him, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to get. And that's one of the things I can say is a blessing. I always had good stand-up guys in my life that became good mentors. So, like, if I did something wrong, they would call me out on it. If I did something right, they would give me, the correct amount of praise to be like, yo, keep going and keep doing those things. But, like, those three guys early on in my life really helped instill, like, the principles that I had moving forward and were great examples. Talk about that part.
Yeah. That's awesome because I feel like I've seen you with the younger kids that we help out. There's a fine balance of like you being tough on them, but also like showing them love. And also, for example, last night when we were at training, one of the kids was, he was being disparaging of himself, and you went over there and gave him a talk like, no, we don't, we don't be negative about ourselves. So, how did that like mindset come to be, and how did you? Because I feel like, from what I've seen in basketball, it's easy to get low, and if it's going the wrong way, it can stay that way. So how did you keep a positive mindset?
Learning the process of growth through my spirituality. So as I got older, I took a self interest in my relationship with Jesus. And so in having that self-interest in my relationship with Jesus, just through reading the Bible, different stories and different examples, when hard things happen, there would sometimes be consequences, but there would also be a process of love. And the people that had the process of love, along with those consequences, they not only learned from their situation, but it stuck with them. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so if you look at any process of growth, whether it's a flower, it's a person, anything, they all have specific ingredients, and all of those ingredients always end up having time in them.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you take the time to reiterate and re-push and regrow those things, then whether it's a kid, whether you're training for yourself in certain aspects, or just making a painting, all of those things it'll all come together. So taking that principle and applying it and having that ideal energy is how those actions happen.
Yeah, it's not to get too deep, but humans are really the mammals that take the longest to develop and the most time that the kids, the pups need to develop and not need their parental support. And I think one of the things that you're best at that I've been able to observe is just how you've been able to handle like relationships with parents, and how I've noticed as a third party that they all have an entrenched community, right? Because all of their kids are involved in the sport, involved in the school, and there's a lot of power in having a community to like back you. So what have you really tried to, ingrain in your program and your teaching when it comes to community, and how do you kind of expect to involve them more?
Right. Well, first, huge shout out to Anderson High School and Coach Swanson just for giving us the platform and opening the doors. Of course, a lot of things led up to that. But one of the things that I prayed for as I got older was having a community. I mean, as a young kid, we were kind of in the same area, but we moved around quite a bit. You know what I mean? And so it's like, as soon as I would get settled, something would happen, and, we would, have to pack up, move, or, just kind of readjust in a certain type of way. And so in search of, one, looking for that stability, I prayed to be able to learn how to handle it. right? And so as moments happen with parents and etc., one of the main things I do is I try to treat people the same way that I want my parents or me or anybody to be treated, because you never know when your last interaction with that person is, or if it's the first or the second, third, or etc. So I try to keep all of them even keeled and keep them the same, and the same is always my best.
Yeah.
And so people notice when you're genuine and you give them your best.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things in the community is like if you put your best foot forward where you're planted, then I mean nothing but positivity and growth can happen from that.
Yeah. I think that's super important, because I think in Austin, for someone that grew up here and a lot of the kids that are growing up here, it's a city where so many people are moving here kind of every day from all over the place, and I feel like it's definitely harder to have that community where you really feel like related to your neighbors and your peers, because there's just so many different things to do in the city that you might not be involved in. So I think when I think about your journey and how did you becoming a player to being a collegiate athlete to just being in the workforce now, like how did you know you wanted to get involved as a coach and as a mentor and try to make a change? Because it's not like it's super lucrative. It's not like you're doing it for a ton of personal gains.
Right.
I mean, unless it's, of course, inwards. But can you speak about that a little bit?
So it's crazy how it happened, right? We surrounded. When I say me and my brother, my dad, my family, we surrounded like our household around basketball. Yeah. That's what I wanted. Like I wanted to be a basketball player growing up, right? So just being around the game and having those good mentors that I talked about earlier, and they're very knowledgeable, and so you just pick things up, and so I kind of just fell in love with watching just YouTube games, right?
Yeah.
And so my old boss, his name is Brent Allen, who's still a great friend and actually a life mentor, right, outside of the sport of basketball. Just a life mentor. His son was playing. He's like, hey, you should come just watch a game. So I'm watching the game, and I'm calling out all the plays before they happen and XYZ. And they were like, I know you played in college, but like I didn't know you knew it like this. I was like, dude, I sleep, eat, and breathe like basketball.
Yeah.
And so next thing you know, they needed like a coach for the eighth grade basketball team at that time. So I was like, you know what, I'll do it. Gratefully it was a little stipend and everything that came along with it. But I was like, I'll do it, and I loved it. Like when I say like those games, you would think I was coaching in like the NBA finals, the way that like it was, and then it not just that, but just the impact of what I did. I only coached there for one season, and it was a couple of months, and I can go back into that school building and get the same love as I did on the first day. Yeah. And just knowing that like I made that impact in that short amount of time, right. Whenever the community, I just caught that bug. Yeah. So now it's just something like I want to do, for whether it's coaching basketball or just helping a friend or just that feeling of being able to help, genuinely help out and make a difference. Bro, can't nothing really beat that, for real.
Yeah. I feel like both you and I have been described as sort of being like working as the hands and the feet of Jesus in a lot of ways, and we both have kind of various ways we do that. But I think when I think about particularly athletes, like you mentioned, inside, in the court, on the court, and off the court, athletes in particular spend way more time with each other than the regular students. You might go have your 8 to 4 schedule and you go home. You might not be in any extracurricular activities. You have these kids and yourself who were, you had practice, and you had, games, and then you had, tournaments and travel. And so I guess I wanted to kind of pivot to the mental side of the game. And I think what I've learned a lot as well is that the game is, there's a lot of physical capabilities, whether you have them or you don't, that you're going to succeed in basketball, but also having the mental tenacity to like weather the storm in a lot of conditions, because the physical training will get you to the game. Right. But then once you get to the game, what you do, your body is going to like do what you have told it to do, but your mind is really what you're under control of. So I wanted to ask, particularly, playing high school ball and then playing college ball. I'm assuming you played AAU and other circuits and stuff. So what were the sort of things that you did as a high school, as a young man, to cope with that stress? The coming and going, where you don't even really know the financial stress of life that's even happened yet, but you kind of know that it's going on.
Mhm.
So how did you cope with that, and how do you try to help the kids today?
So one thing I can say, I was definitely a workaholic.
Yeah.
I knew that I was not the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the tallest. But there's not one person that can come in the gym and say like when I was in the gym, that they like would not outwork me. They were just as hard, but like there was no way you were outworking me. And so I mean, I definitely appreciate that mindset from my dad, who instilled that in me pretty early on. But just the hard work and believing in the hard work that I put in, because it's another part to like put in the hard work. But then like when I got on the floor, I would have moments where like I sort of doubted my abilities. And so after having those mentors in my life to help me work through that, it became like it became joyous to be able to put the work in. And then not just that, I mean, I just didn't cope alone. It takes a village. Like my teammates, like I had some of the most fun teammates ever in my life. Like I had a kid on my team that looked like Justin Bieber, who hit threes the whole time. I had some of the most fun laughs with him. There was a kid that transferred in from Venezuela. His name was Fernando.
Nice.
I think that was probably like one of the best pick and rolls I've ever played in my life, to be honest with you. But then I had like my friends that I hung out with during the school week. My friend Cortez, who ended up staying with my family for a little bit. We would go to school all week and be excited to get ready to go to the end. So that the nervousness and jitters that I would have individually on my own would all go away, because it's like, yo, I'm here with my friends. You know what I mean? I'm here with the guys that I worked with all week. So that camaraderie is another way that I hope cope with that situation. So I would say the hard work, the friendship, and then just building up enough to believe in myself that everything that I did was for a reason. Like now we're here, and we just got to put the pen to the paper.
Right. Did you have a pre-game routine or a pre-training routine?
Yeah. Pre-game routine?
What was it?
Sure, J. Cole. Just listen to J. Cole. I definitely should have stretched a lot more, because my body now is telling me. But no, just turn on some Friday Night Lights, get ready to go. I for sure prayed before every game. But I would just get in, and I would have this thing like where I would take the ball, do a couple of dribbles, move it around, and then give it back to the ref. But other than that, I would just be locked in and try to be as present as possible. But there was not a game I did not listen to J. Cole before the game. So that would be my said pregame routine.
Got it. I don't think these kids even know about J. Cole like that.
Listen, if you don't, you need to find out about it. You might increase your points per game for sure.
So staying on that topic about kind of the psyche of an athlete, I think one thing, I'm a big Spurs fan. One of my favorite athletes, Manu Ginobili, always talked about it's a lot easier to swallow a blowout than it is to swallow a last second loss where you made a mistake and it led to a turnover that led to a bucket or something like that. Do you agree with that?
I don't know, bro.
Like if it's a game,
it is not. It is tough. I mean, blowouts we didn't come to play, but them close ones, they hurt. They definitely do sting a little bit more.
Yeah,
but it's like, I don't know. I just hate losing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, from a competitive standpoint, I feel like there's a lot more to be learned from blowouts, right? Because it's like, hey, we lace our shoes up the same way they do. So what did we do in lack of preparation to get ready for that they did on a much higher and better scale? Like, granted, you have a night where it's just not your night, but like, getting blown out is something was missed somewhere. You know what I mean? But those close games, they hurt a little bit more because you're like, you did the preparation right there. It's just like it comes down to moments and seconds, and those are like a little bit harder to dwell and pinpoint on, because it is a moment compared to like that extended long time that you getting whooped on.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, hand in hand, I would say the blowouts hurt a little bit more than the closer ones.
They hurt more.
Yeah, the because bro, you just think about it. It's like, bro, we just got beat by 30. My mom's just watching me get beat by 30, bro. A buzzer beater, it's tough. That sucks, but
at least it was a close game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I wonder how, since we're getting old over here. We're approaching our 30s. Well, all right, okay, you're getting close to 30.
Yeah.
And you were, a high school athlete. What do you think the kids today deal with that maybe you didn't in terms of mental health challenges, social media, just being a lot more presently online. We're out here filming their games. You got Astro Hoops and a lot of really
Good.
really good production out here. And do you feel like you've seen any changes over the years in terms of athletes and their psyches that can be contributed to that?
I feel like the era that I came in was kind of like the start of like the middle, like the major stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, you definitely have to deal with self-image a lot now.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly like before it'd be like you would see quite a few things, but like now you have a camera access to you all. Like you're in high school and you can get a documentary like right now about you.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a little bit. So you have to you gotta kind of. You can't let your hair down as much or make mistakes as much as you did. The grace is not as thick as it was back then. So
I feel like that's a lot.
It definitely is a lot because you're only 14, 15
16,
years old, right? And you got to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then if you don't do something as good as somebody expects you to, without even knowing you having those expectations, that's something that you got to live up to and try to figure out, and that can cause like a little downward spiral that you got to figure out how to get through as well. So the good thing is, like, there's a caveat to it, is that even though you go through those things a little bit early, you kind of figure out how to handle it a little bit earlier. But it's also like something tough to go through at such a young age. So
yeah, especially when you have a lot of these kids, that they're really good at their high schools, they might dominate locally, and then they might go to a D1 school or not even a D1 school where they kind of enter at the bottom of the barrel. I'm assuming you had to do that, and I'm sure that was tough. And I think there's, like you said, expectations of not only performing on the court but also, kind of being worried in this era of NIL and media that you're not also keeping up with those expectations.
Right.
So I kind of wanted to ask, do you think, a lot of the opportunities that are out there would have affected you at all if you were growing up in an age where they were present to you?
Yes and no. The reason why is because I'm the oldest out of, my brothers. Yeah. And so for me, I was always the learning experience, right? So things that might have went wrong for me went right for my brother because like my parents have been through it before. So good thing we had a strong foundation. Like nothing crazy would have happened in that situation, right? But like it still would have been like a learning of like things we wouldn't have known, unless like we've been through it before. Yeah. So that's always like, the downside for it for me. Yeah. So, but I think we, Jesus wouldn't have let nothing crazy, happen. But, yeah, good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I always think about that NCAA ad where, they say, I don't know what the number is, but it's like 95% of us will go pro in something other than sports after college. So, I'm sure there's a lot of people in our community and in Texas that are kind of, living those hoop dreams and kind of hope that you're going to make the league one day or you might, be playing professionally, I guess. How do you think you would advise kind of kids that have those expectations to keep them positive, but also to sort of temper them? Because just how few people make it that far.
Right. That's very true. A lot of people don't make it that far. But I would say the best thing to do is go until you can't go anymore. Don't let anybody else tell you how far you literally can go. Exhaust every option until you say you're done.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that would be my best option. Because, not everybody has, like, the crazy, comes out of high school 5-star. Like, there's a couple people in the league that weren't ranked at all.
True.
You know what I mean? That are doing pretty well. And professional basketball doesn't just end in the NBA, right?
Correct.
You can play overseas. You can there's a lot of different ways that you can affect the game.
Right.
You might be going in for one thing, and then now you're impacting or innovating the game in a totally different way than what you could have thought. But you only would have got that far if you didn't, until you exhausted those options that where like you didn't want to quit or didn't want to give up on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. So I wanted to pivot to our last topic for today, which is going to be on leadership. You mentioned your first your first job as a leader was being an older brother.
Yeah.
I've gotten to meet at least one of your brothers and gotten to meet your mom, and I'm fascinated by having the brother dynamic because I have two older sisters, and the dynamics are super different with girls versus boys.
I just got sister-in-laws like not too long ago, so I don't even know what that dynamic looks like yet. But
it's way different because I feel like there's emotions in play with older sisters and older brothers, but there was definitely competition.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Would you agree? Yeah, and I think there's a physical competition because you have the same parents and might have various athletic abilities, but that's kind of like where the mind game comes in, and I'm sure you've experienced it with your younger brothers. But how would you say just being an older brother, has prepared you as a leader? Because I think as a younger brother myself, I have leadership tendencies that I didn't develop till later, till I was in college, till I was in the workplace, because really I was the last one. As an older brother, you can probably relate to my sister saying, "Oh, well, you had it easy, and you were the child that my parents had the least of a leash on,"
Right.
So how has that helped you, in terms of translating to basketball, as a player and then as a coach?
The relationship of being a brother and completely, this is about to sound very clear, but it's really a lot like the game of basketball.
Yeah.
You got to keep that physical dominance up until you can't no more.
Right.
And then you have to figure out how to affect the game in a different way. So, having two younger brothers, it's always like, who got the biggest muscles? Who can do this? It's always like, who's the king of the jungle? At that point, in time. And then you come to a point in effect where you have to learn how can you be a leader mentally, right? So we don't have to tussle, wrestle, fight, do anything like that.
Yeah.
But like be an example or show them like, yo, you could have went around about this a totally different way.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of working on yourself, right?
Yeah.
In the first part, like the communication that I have with my younger brother now is totally different than I had with him 2 years ago, because I thought it was all about, puffing your chest up, you're not going to be bigger than me and blah, 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 blah. But then you show them who's bigger as an older brother in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you're not moving, the same way that you're still moving like a kid. You need to move. Right. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I still got room to go. Yeah. But like as an older brother, that's how the game changes.
Yeah.
And then they become a lot more coherent to what you're saying, because it's not so much of a physical battle anymore, but you're literally leading by example and by your words, and you're being older and more mature in a different way. So instead of building them up to not be better than your position, you're building them up to be like, yo, like do better than what I did in a proud way. Yeah. And that's something that I wish I would have learned a little bit earlier, but because I'm all like I'm number one, once I dropped that disposition, things became a lot better with my brother's situation, and that translates over straight into sports, like we were talking about. It's all about, I'm physically, but I can run quicker than you and XYZ, blah 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 blah. But until you can physically show the people around you through your words and through your actions and how you move, that's when your team and everybody, your community and everything becomes a lot better, because they only go as far as an extent of what you can build.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's been a cool part about the training that we've done with the kids in Anderson, is that we, for the most part, let them play in interspersed in terms of skill levels, in terms of their levels, if they're involved in basketball formally or not, because I think there's sort of a way that the younger kids, the less experienced kids, can learn from just seeing, from experiencing. I think even if you might get cooked or something,
right?
It's a good way to see, that's how it can be done. And I think when you were talking about your younger brothers, I think there's a lot of people can agree that sometimes you just don't know about things until you experience them.
Yep.
And I think we can all relate to, maybe, disagreeing with what your mom said or talking back because, you didn't think that situation was going to play out. Like, you didn't want to bring a jacket because you didn't think it was that cold outside. Exactly. And then you go to school and you're like, she was right. I should have brought a jacket. And then, it's a told you so moment, but it's also just, you'll always remember that going forward. And I think, like you said, that translates to being a teammate. So we have some various teammates, that are older brothers, younger brothers, the JV, varsity, freshmen, and various skill levels. But I think one of the things we've also done is during drills, during warm-ups, you always assign someone to be the leader, to
Mhm.
communicate. Is that you usually pick the kids who aren't talking as much to do that, or is it just depend on the night?
It kind of just depends on the night.
Yeah.
I'm a very much like in the flow type
Yeah.
coach, so I go with how the situation is playing out. Like, so if I have a normal guy that's kind of not talkative,
Yeah.
I may put them on the spot. But if I have a guy that's actually talkative and they're not being themselves, then oh yeah, for sure, you get on the spot, buddy, because we're gonna figure out what's
Right.
going on before, because that thing can affect you
Yeah.
know the rest of how the day goes.
Right.
And so you put them in a situation where they need to be vocal. So that way, when you pull them to the side, they've already been talking to everybody else. It makes them a lot easier to open up and come up and talk to you so you can get a solution to the situation. So,
Right.
I mean, there's a little method to the madness,
Yeah.
but sometimes I do just pick one or two kids just to be like, you know what, yeah, like, it's on you.
Well, like, it's just basketball is just there's so much communication going on, and a lot of kids might not have the need to communicate that much in a regular situation. So
Mhm.
you're literally teaching them, like, you have to yell ball
Yeah.
if you're streaking down after a made basket, because that's the only way for your teammates to know.
Right.
If, there's any other way, we would, have much easier of a time scoring. But I think when I think about sort of how, being a young kid, being 14, 15 in high school, that's kind of the last thing you want to do is being told to...
Told to do anything.
told to do anything, but especially being told to, like, being put on the spot and communicate. Like, if you can remember when you used to do, like, popcorn reading,
Mhm.
you would just, like, hope you weren't picked on a lot of the times because you might...
I don't know, I was weird, bro.
Oh, you like to be picked on? All right,
I
okay.
was cool with that. It
You
really
like to
did.
be...
It really did. All the time I didn't feel. All the time, if it was science, I'd definitely be in the back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to answer nothing about no science.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you mean, though.
Yeah.
I for sure get what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was... And we're going to talk more about our relationships and I think, just like love in general in a later time. But I think for me, like, I didn't really learn really strong communication skills, I feel like, until I was in a committed relationship.
Gotcha.
When I was like, I had a lot of really good communication skills with my parents and my family, but I feel like it's not always applicable to the real world, how you communicate with your family.
Mhm.
It's very nuanced. You have 18 years of how you built up that relationship that doesn't apply, and then you are with this person who is essentially a stranger.
Right.
And you have to learn how to, like, communicate with them, because if you communicate in a way that's not proper or just isn't conducive to your relationship, then you're gonna have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Or not communicating the same way in basketball.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're not communicating, that's almost worse.
For sure.
than communicating
Just around guessing
elsewhere. So
Yeah.
I mean, how has basketball in terms of like communication helped you in your life, and how do you think the kids today see it? Do you think that they, really want to be those leaders, or do you think it sort of depends on the day or depends on the game?
Right now, it just depends on the day and depends on the game. But because I was the same way. I think every kid is the same way, unless like you're trained at a younger age to do such.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of basketball, it definitely helped me. Even overly communicating at times,
Yeah.
Because I want what is known to be transparent. That's all. I want everybody to be on the same page and have similar success. I mean, it's definitely up. I mean, I just got married, so like, we're doing good after the first week. I've definitely did I think Nisha can say I've been doing a good job of communicating. But I mean, from carrying that over from sports to real life, whether it's at the job or with people that aren't with family, even like you said, communicating with the parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all very, very symmetrical. And the thing now is, in hindsight, we can say, it does translate, but when you're in it at that age, you're like, dude, I don't see how. I'm not married. I ain't getting no. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing X, Y, Z. So
yeah.
I feel like once they get older, it'll be more relevant.
Yeah.
I just called Coach KD like not too long ago. Like, yo, I've never been here before. How did you handle it?
Yeah.
Like, what did you do to be able to move forward and stuff like that? So I'm glad that we're able to be that light for those kids whenever they reach that point.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a blessing, definitely, because I can think of myself, I don't think at that age I had any other adults. Like, you might have a band director, like I was in band, or you might have a teacher here and there, but really it's not the same relationship as you have with a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a relationship where they might see you more than they might see you more than your parents, and they might see you on the weekends. They might see you after hours. So, my last question for you on the first episode here, Through the Eyes of a Lion, is what about teaching and kind of guiding these athletes? Because you are a teacher. I mean, my sister is a teacher, a formal teacher at a school, but you're also a teacher, a mentor in a way, with these kids. What has been the most rewarding thing for you, and what are you looking forward to in the next, let's say, year with your journey?
The most rewarding thing for me has been the process.
Yeah.
But not to sound all philosophical and all Yoda-ish. That's not, I'm really enjoying the process, which is something that I had to learn.
Yeah.
I struggled with the process before. And I would always be like, okay, when do we get to the end?
Right.
When do we get to the end?
Yeah.
Like, when do I get to the final product? And I've become so in love with the progress and the process and the growth of everything that I don't want the end to come, whenever that may be, right?
Yeah.
Because, or whatever, I want the results to just continue to see. Like, it amazes me how, like, one of the kids that we will probably hear the name of, like, Sandor Demas, who's a part of Legacy and a freshman in high school, he could barely catch the ball,
I remember,
right? And we've been working with him for 3-4 months, and now he's doing one-step dunks. Like, the and his just, not just that, but like seeing his excitement about his first ever high school game, bro gets a double-double when you couldn't catch a ball, like, not too long ago.
Crazy,
it's just a testament of, like, how enjoying the process is. Because if I wasn't enjoying the process of working with him or the growth or seeing that, then when we went to the game, it would be like, bro, why are you not scoring 40 points? Right. And that would it would just put a damper on the whole situation. So being present in that growth is like, bro, that is my favorite part right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think we've seen so much growth over the last year that I think some of these kids are going to be unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me that I've been able to observe, and when I came on to help you out as a friend, to do this media stuff, really I had like no expectations. I'm sure you have some expectations and have some vision, but I think the way we've been able to just grow organically and not force ourselves to jump ahead, knowing that this community that we're entering is already very robust. Basketball has an incredible network in this country, and they're very delicate everywhere you go. You cross from here to across the highway, and it's another school's kind of territory, and the people that have welcomed us in and have been able to embrace us has been incredible. So thanks for this opportunity, bro.
Yeah,
and
I appreciate you,
this episode was really fun. We're going to definitely dig in deeper. Is there anything else you want to add to the end?
No, I mean, it's the beginning of the journey for us. I mean, I know everybody in the moment got a podcast right now, but honestly, I'm just following God's direction and putting us in the best position to receive. So whether it's one person that listens to this or it's 1 million people that end up listening to this, I just hope that there's peace. Everybody is blessed, and we for sure thank you for taking a look at life through the eyes of a lion. So,
well done. All right, thanks, y'all. We'll be back with episode 2. Thank you for listening.